don't. It's just why? Really? You could have paid someone a lot less to do the same amount of work.
And, you know, being de-aged.
I just don't understand. Like, if you're not going to show his face, like, what is the point of him just being in the suit and walking around?
Oh, his face is kind of shown twice. Yep. And
Is it? And can you tell it's him?
Yes, wearing makeup. All right.
Oh my god. You guys definitely look like you've lost your virginity. Yeah. What did remember what do you remember what's his name? The guy at the uh DHL his name was Green Man. He used to the one supervisor Rich. You were there. He was everyone really liked this guy, but he was no. He would call his kids his fuck trophies. Yeah, that's a yeah. You have a fuck trophy. He's like, I got two little. He's like, I got two little fuck trophies running around. I'm like, what? What's a fuck trophy? Oh, okay.
All right.
He was, yeah. Everyone, I liked the guy. I thought he was great.
All right. So I see it in the channel. Yep.
Welcome to GegaHub Live.
What's up?
You were probably welcomed when you heard our conversation earlier.
Oh man, that's terrible. I think they only heard you two. They didn't hear me though. So.
Oh, well, that makes it better, right?
Right.
You can deny things.
Right.
So,
no, I didn't say that.
No one told me that we were
going
to show off our swords. I got a sweet sword collection. I totally could have shown it off. I have every sword you can think of.
Right.
I have the best sword.
Right.
I have the sword
from Highlander.
That's
the best movies ever. But we're not going to talk about Highlander yet. Not yet.
I have the sword from Hawk the Slayer.
I love that movie. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's so cheesy, but I love that movie.
It's the sword of many swords.
Right.
Was it Hawk the Slayer? It is Hawk the Slayer, right?
Hawk the Slayer, yeah. It's great.
Yeah, with the three blades.
Right.
Oh,
no. That's Sword and the Sorcerer.
Okay, yeah, that's the sword I have. The one with the three blades.
Right.
The three blades.
All right, tonight.
Fires off the blades.
Tonight we review Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Disney Plus series.
Yeah, on Disney Plus.
That just finished last week.
If you've been listening for a while, you might know how this is gonna go. But,
right. Right.
You know, we hope you're entertained anyway.
Right.
Yes, we watched Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan, that's a name I haven't heard in quite a long time.
His name's Ben, man. Gosh. Get with the times.
Get with the times.
Okay. Oh, what is that? What's that? That a Godzilla mug?
My Godzilla
2000.
Millennium mug.
One of the best Godzilla designs ever.
I love that.
Put it up. Put the face up on the camera. Let me see it. The face. Oh, that's very adorable. That's really awesome. Where'd you get that?
My brother gave it to me.
Oh.
Very, very nice Father's Day gift. Cool Father's
Day. And for what I have to show off on camera today, this thing.
Perfect for the show. Oh, nice.
What is that?
It's a Gigamax Pikachu or Dynamax Pikachu. Basically, basically, it's a giant kaiju Pikachu. It's all chubby like a bean, and he stomps a lot. He has to carry his tail and swing it around. It's cool.
He's very chubby.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Super chubby.
All right,
Kaiju Pikachu.
None of those things have anything to do with Obi-Wan, but let's get into Obi-Wan.
Let's get into
Kenobi.
Obi-Wan, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, hotly anticipated. Hotly anticipated.
People have been waiting for a long time for because there's been whisperings of an Obi-Wan Kenobi series for like years already, right?
Yes.
I mean, it kind of already happened with Star Wars: The Clone Wars, because even though the Clone Wars cartoon series focuses on Anakin and Ahsoka, there's also like entire story arcs dedicated to Obi-Wan. So there's that.
It's true.
Are any of the characters in from the show in that in that cartoon, or are they from other media possibly?
In Obi-Wan,
like how Cad Bane was in
Inquisitors.
Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Inquisitors. They're from Rebels.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay. Didn't watch that either.
Yeah, but
So-
Obi-Wan
Not missing
Kenobi
much.
tries to fill some of the gaps between Episode 3,
Rebels and A
Revenge
New
of the
Hope.
Ship,
Oh yeah.
Revenge of the Sith, and A New Hope, Episode 4, A New Hope.
Mhm.
So I think most of the series take place in between that time between.
No,
It takes place before Rebels.
Clone Wars takes place between 2 and 3. Rebels
Yeah.
takes
No,
place.
I'm talking about these new Disney series. Like Mandalorian is around
No,
that time, right?
Mandalorian's way after
Way after Return.
Return of the Jedi. Yeah.
Like 5 years
that's
after
right.
Return.
That's right. Because
So-
we saw the black suit Luke,
Right.
Yeah, with green
which
lights.
is like his it's like his master look or whatever.
5 years later, and he looks exactly the same. Lazy.
Oh, the de-aging.
All right.
Oh, we're gonna get into that with Obi-Wan later.
So Obi-Wan starts off on Tatooine, and what did you guys think about that?
It's okay. It's old man Obi-Wan. It's what I was expecting. It's like, oh, it's Obi-Wan. He's somewhat retired. His life sucks. That's all that matters.
I mean, listen, I would think my life sucked if I lived on Tatooine. Tatooine looks dreadful.
But, like,
it looks like an awful place to live.
He feels beyond guilty for everything that happened prior, for since Anakin was a student, and yeah.
Right. My problem with that whole sequence is at the end of Revenge of the Sith, his time on Tatooine.
Oh, no, you were right the first time.
Yeah. His time on Tatooine was painted to be a little more proactive, and it seemed it seemed like we were missing something that happened to make him this broken old man.
We went from I'll watch over the child with you to
and continue to train and reach out into the living force, and
he's
arguing
with he's arguing with Ben, right?
Right.
No, not Ben.
Uncle Owen.
Owen, yeah.
Which I can see that actually made sense because that's who Uncle Owen is. He was a farmer. He didn't like all that stuff.
Like that highfalutin lot sword
Yeah.
wrangling. He didn't like it.
Yeah.
Why don't you just farm moisture like I do? Make a good, honest living.
And then, of course, Obi-Wan decides to take a left turn, which I thought was a good story choice. It takes a left turn by getting Obi-Wan off the planet and doing something other than dealing with Luke, which, to be fair, that's the only way you're going to get him and Darth together. It wouldn't make much sense if it all took place on Tatooine.
If Darth Vader came to Tatooine,
Right.
yeah.
There's
sand.
I've only watched a couple episodes, but it seems like there's a couple of like little inconsistencies that just kind of seem odd. There's not as many as the Mandalorian, but like let's take for example the fact that he's there to one day have to train Luke.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he's dulled himself so much. Like I don't understand how he was supposed to like
To be
practically
fair,
he disconnected himself to the Force
right.
Like, it got to the point
which
where
I don't get that bullshit.
Yeah.
Disconnect
got to the
from
point
Force,
where, like,
get out of here.
It got to the point where like he has to like relearn how to use it like a muscle, and then like he had to use it to save. Well, if you want to get to that part of the story yet.
No, we can spoil. I mean, it's over.
Okay, so yeah,
spoiler alert.
The show includes Kid Leia, and I think the kid does a pretty job playing a younger version of Princess Leia. She's snarky, she's bossy. Like, I can see this kid turning into Princess Leia in the future.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, she's
agree.
this series is Baby Yoda, just a
Yes,
cute,
yes.
a cute, sassy kid with attitude.
Yep,
And
kid
of course,
sidekick.
yeah, and of course her little robot friend that they've monetized already.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Oh, I'm so ready to buy Disneyland toys of it.
The little, what's it called? Lola, I think.
Lola. Yeah,
Lola.
named after
The
Carrie.
little
Named
ladybug
after
robot.
Yeah, it's named after Carrie Fisher's dog, I think.
Yeah. Somebody
Oh,
turned
I
this
didn't know
robot
that.
to evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, Kid Leia gets kidnapped. Organa has to convince Obi-Wan to save her, and is like, fine, and goes to I forgot the name of the planet. But
Is it
yeah,
important? Probably not.
no, it's
No,
just
but
like
I did like the way the planet looked. It looked like
Las
it looked like it
Vegas?
was from Blade Runner.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Kind of Blade Runnery, which I thought was kind of cool. I could do with more settings, cyberpunkish settings like that.
Space LA
Yeah.
2019. Well, that's one
So-
thing. That's one thing that's interesting, and I think Tony, you and I talked about this. Is there is a lot of built-in cyberpunk stuff in the Star Wars expanded universe, or now what they're calling Legends, I guess. A lot
Yeah.
of cyberpunk built right in, which I always kind of liked. I thought it was a good thing.
Cyberpunk superiority. Okay,
Right.
but
Right.
apparently, so Leia gets kidnapped by a bunch of mercenaries, and they're also spice dealers, and spice is basically a drug in Star Wars. Okay, and they're copying Dune. Okay, Obi-Wan has to sneak into what's basically a meth lab,
Yeah, that's true.
and he can't use his lightsaber 24/7 because it'll draw attention. At one point, he just breaks the spice and he drugs everyone in the room. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's right. Flea, which I
yeah,
was sad to see. Which I was sad to see that Flea died in the same episode. I was
Yeah.
like, I could do with seeing more of Flea's like 2-bit criminal character.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
I didn't mind the mercenaries. I think episode, what is that? Still episode? No, that's
2.
episode 2, right? That's before it started really going off the rails for me.
The character I did like, because it is plausible for it to happen in the universe of Star Wars. The guy who plays Kingo in Eternals, he's basically a fraud. He's a fake
Oh, right,
Jedi.
Johnny.
He was like, he had people pay him to like escort him off the planet. He's like,
Right.
oh, I am a Jedi, and like he was like using magnets and
Yeah.
remote controls.
I mean,
Yeah.
that whole
He had
I
his
like
little
that
tricks.
character.
That
And I
whole
like how
thing
he had.
wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't terrible. It was pretty decent.
I like how he had somewhat of a redemption arc later.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Uh,
like he said, he goes, "We do good. It's just we make money doing it." I mean, that's
Yeah.
we give people
Yeah.
hope and we get them off planet. I mean, what more do you want? I mean,
All right,
So,
let's
yeah.
talk about the villains. We got the Inquisitors. The main
Oh,
one
yeah.
is Reva, and the other one is I forgot the guy's name, but I know he's in Rebels. Basically, Reva is the rebellious Inquisitor. Who's like, oh, I want to like kidnap Obi-Wan, and like I want to like get to Obi-Wan and by kidnapping Leia first, and it's a convoluted plan.
So
And then other Inquisitors are just looking at her like,
before,
Yeah. So here's my question about that. Is she a character in the show?
no,
Like,
new
I don't
character.
I don't understand what they obsession is. Do they explain that later on?
It is.
'Cause-
It's explained even after when she supposedly dies, and she doesn't die. It's explained.
let me
So, you want to know?
let me just say,
I mean, this is spoiler filled, so yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, I'll let Adam like explain his distress on his distress and Rhea's plans to kidnap Leia.
before I rant about Reva, I love that actress.
Okay.
I think she's great. I really like her charisma. I think she has a lot of great screen presence. However, that character was crap. It's a one-dimensional, lazily written. Oh, so bad. She's so bad. It was so badly written.
Here's what I have to say. I like the premise of it. It's just that the execution of how the character's
Yeah.
written makes me go, what? What am I? What?
And it's not
But
her.
I think-
It's not her performance at all. It wasn't her performance. She's just written. It's like less than one-dimensional, if that's even possible. She's so
Like-
flat.
But Tony. To what you said, that's not really new if we think about it. I mean, from the
Yeah.
prequels onward, everything has pretty much been like, oh, it's a good idea, but the execution, ooh, you know.
Okay,
But there's a lot
so
of that in the Star Wars universe, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Would you-
In the
Adam, would-
post-Lucas Star Wars universe, especially.
would you care to explain why kidnapping Leia wasn't really a good plot thread?
Well, okay. To be fair, kidnapping Leia, that was okay. It's when they got her to the Imperial base and started torturing her is when I had a huge effing problem with that whole story arc. You know,
Okay.
if you go to Episode 4, The New Hope, Grand Moff Tarkin, Peter Cushing's character, obviously he destroys Alderaan.
Yes.
That's at the Emperor's behest because
hmm
that is the Emperor sending a signal to the galaxy that he no longer needs the Senate.
Yes.
Because when he seized power, he still needed the Senate.
Yes.
This is right smack dab in the middle of him seizing power and him destroying Alderaan. He still needed the Senate. Kidnapping a senator's daughter with your official Inquisitor troops.
Probably the worst thing you could do.
And then torturing her, that was just so bad to me. That was made no sense. You know what I would have loved? I would have loved if Vader broke in when Reva was torturing poor little Leia and basically just freaking killed her outright and said, she is a senator's daughter. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like get her out of here. And
Wouldn't he know then?
We rescued her. What's that?
Didn't he know then that she was his daughter?
No,
He's not supposed to know. He does.
No, they don't do that. Thankfully,
he couldn't have sensed that early on. But I mean, he may have known she was force sensitive, and that's another problem I have. Is clearly Reva knew she was force sensitive.
What I'm saying is he didn't know of the existence of his kids. Period. Right?
Yeah. No.
No. No, he didn't. He didn't. He thought she died.
Right.
All right. All right. So
and that's
and that whole episode happened. What?
It's even weirder then. Because they're operating out of the same base that Vader's at, isn't that where Vader is?
No, that happened in a underwater base, and I forgot what planet it was. But basically, it was a Jedi tomb where they were like storing their bodies for display,
or whatever.
And
reason.
you get to see a youngling go, encased in crap, forgot what it's called. If you've seen Jurassic Park, you get it. It's not carbonite. It's
like some kind of greenish liquid.
No, it's yellow.
It's like amber, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and the kid was like,
"Oh, it's formaldehyde." Clearly,
they killed the younglings, you guys.
Okay, so do you want to know Reva's motives, her real motives, and her
Was she
actual
one of the
origin?
younglings at the beginning?
Yeah, she was.
Yes.
She survived Order 66. She hates Anakin. She read Anakin's file. She knows everything about him. Somehow she knew that Leia was Anakin's daughter. I assume. But I kidnapped Leia just to lure Obi-Wan, so it could lure out Vader. I'm like, you're an Inquisitor. You probably work with Vader occasionally to get close to him.
Yeah,
why?
It's so much of that didn't make sense, or at least again, it wasn't executed very well. I mean, I get that Star Wars at its core is supposed to be sort of written in broad strokes, but I mean, it's like they're trying to be subtle yet still have broad strokes. So it just comes off as lazy and not well executed.
Yeah, it didn't feel thematic at all until like the last episode.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't until like the last. Okay, so Vader. Actually, in episode 2, she quote unquote kills the Inquisitor, the other Inquisitor. I forgot the guy's name, but he had the weird accent.
The big hat, the weird accent.
Yeah, stabs him. Turns out, he survived that because he's supposed to be alive by the time Rebels happened.
And he's the guy played by Sun Kang, right?
I think so, yeah. No, not the guy with the weird hat, like the bald guy.
Oh,
okay. I see. Right.
Yeah.
Richard.
Ripper Fiend?
Fiend, yeah.
Yeah. She stabs him, friggin', and it turns out, he's alive. So, in an episode where basically she's leading a bunch of troopers to try to continue going after Kid Leia because she put a tracking device in Lola. Obi-Wan convinces her, like, you are a victim of Order 66. You should turn against Vader. She does try doing that, but she quote-unquote dies, but no, she just gets stabbed somewhere that isn't vital.
Well, to be fair, lightsabers would cauterize the wound, so unless it's an out-and-out fatal wound, your actual survival chances are pretty high.
But the last episode is basically about her going after Luke. Her thought process is like, I'm gonna get back at Vader by killing his own kid that he doesn't even know about. Yeah. So
it's a twist. It's a twist.
Half of that episode is about her chasing Kid Luke and fighting Owen in Peru. because on Peru they have like a bunch of guns stocked somewhere in the farm.
They're
I thought you said
farmers, all
fighting
right.
Uncle Owen in Peru.
Oh.
You said in Peru. Aunt Peru.
Yeah,
That's
Uncle
and the
Owen
other-
and Peru, yeah.
And the other half of the final episode is Obi-Wan fighting Vader in the closest planet to get the people who are led by Ice Cube's son to get out of there with Leia. And I think that fight is good, and I think it's thematic enough where Obi-Wan says, "I'm sorry, I failed you again," and it's like, "Oh, you didn't kill me, like Darth Vader killed Anakin," and like, but somehow Obi-Wan beat him by breaking part of his helmet, and Anakin has a breakdown, and Anakin just leaves him, kinda, and yeah, that's what it happens, and even Emperor Palpatine later on, like when Vader's back in his throne, Palpatine's like, "Oh, what? You still have you still have feelings for Obi-Wan? Like you miss him or something?" He's like, "No."
No,
He's like, and it's like,
I'm
"I'm still
crying,
evil.
you're crying. You're crying.
I'm still, yeah, I'm still a
What,
bad guy."
you want your
Yeah.
little boyfriend? Is that what you want?
And the Darth Vader theme song plays. And then Reva, like once she realizes she's becoming no better than Vader, she just gives Luke back to Owen Peru.
Oh my God. Ugh.
Obi-Wan returns to Alderaan. He gives Leia a holster from a character that died. I forgot her name, but basically she used to work for the Empire and she defected, and she was escorting people hidden from the Empire, and
Right, it was
The
the
mother of sand snakes.
yeah,
the mother of the
yeah.
snakes. What's her name?
Yeah.
Indira.
Yeah,
Indira, I
she's
believe.
so gorgeous.
yeah, she
Indira
do.
Varma.
I do love her. Well, let me go off about that here in a second. That whole freaking Imperial scene. Oh,
Okay, well, basically, she dies. Obi-Wan gives Leia her holster, and it becomes Leia's holster. And
okay.
Obi-Wan explains to... Okay, so you know how in Return of the Jedi, somehow Leia knows about her mother, even though when you think about it, it doesn't make
Right.
sense?
right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Obi-Wan explains to Leia everything about Padme, and that kind of ties into that scene in Return of the Jedi. I'm like, okay, I see what they're doing there.
Well, see, that makes less sense to me because, I assumed that Leia's memories of her mother meant that not only A, she was probably with her mom when she was first born, at least for a little bit, even though Luke clearly never touched her, and B, it was part of the Force sensitivity.
Mm.
That's what I always figure. But now, as usual with the Disney Star Wars crap, they always try to over-explain everything, which is not to the story's credit overall, I think.
But like you get to the part you were gonna say, and then I'll explain like the last parts of the final episode.
So our defecting Imperial officer, when she goes to the underwater base,
Mm-hmm.
this kind of
I know what you're gonna say.
This kind of stuff drives me nuts. Having worked, in the military and various security and whatever.
I think I might know what you're gonna say, but go ahead. Yeah, I think I know what you're gonna say.
Once you're in a place, they don't fucking check your ID every 5 seconds and think you look suspicious. It doesn't work that way. I mean,
that's
oh my God,
the whole thing about Star Wars, right? It's like
nuts. Yeah.
In every new Star Wars,
Every 5 minutes, who are you?
Every-
Why are you here?
Yeah, every villain somehow has this weird intuition. Reva knew what building to walk into to find them, right? Like every stormtrooper stopped to question them. Everyone always looked at that. Like there was the scene where she was walking in the base, and there was a bunch of people walking the opposite way.
Right.
There's literally a guy who just looks at her.
Yeah.
He's suspicious of her, and I'm like, you don't even know who this person is. Like, is everyone just a suspicious douche? Like, I don't understand.
The only people that would be suspicious in Palpatine's empire would be non-humans.
Right. But like everyone has
which they clearly dropped for some reason. They just don't really play on that, which you think nowadays it would be a strong social comment. But no, they don't effing care.
So we were watching it, and the scene where they Obi-Wan and Leia got picked up by a trucker guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy who looks like a mole. Do you remember that guy?
Oh yeah. The guy sounds like Seth Rogen.
Yeah, I thought it's Zach Braff.
Oh, was it?
Zach Braff. Yeah. So they're like, yeah, okay, you guys good? I'll give you a ride. They get to the back of the truck, what's basically a truck, and there's an Empire
this was so
flag.
stupid, yeah.
It's equivalent of like being in the South and getting picked up by like a Trump supporter or somebody with like a You know what I mean?
I think that's
With the
what's
Trump
supposed to mean.
Pence bumper sticker. You know?
It's funny though, but
I think that
oh my God! Speaking of that scene, like,
the culmination
okay,
of that
so
scene, the laser fence.
it was cool to see a stormtrooper get cut in half by a laser. Like I was laughing hysterically when that happened. But
Yeah, me
when the
too.
lasers turned off, I expected Obi-Wan to like steal the truck for himself, not just no, we're on, leave the truck behind. I'm like, what are you doing?
Not to mention, why did you go through the trouble of turning off the laser gate when you could have taken 2 steps to the right and walked around it?
Right. Walked over it,
That's so
something.
stupid. I want to turn it off so we can walk. Like, I don't know. It's just so bad.
The gate is literally like if you were to put up like a check gate, you know what I mean? It's like if you get out, it's about waist high. It's not stopping anybody who can jump.
Yeah,
anywhere.
someone could just like crawl over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone can just jump over it.
I do like how stormtroopers are still portrayed as dumbasses though. Like what's her name again? The she's
The Sand
the
Snake's
defective.
mother? Yeah, the Sand Snake's
Yeah,
mother.
she just freaking slaps the helmet, and somehow that's enough to like knock down the stormtrooper. I'm like, yeah,
they're boobs. They're boobs.
You can barely see through those. And when Obi-Wan and Leia were just underneath the trench coat.
Oh, that's
funny.
I did want to bring that up.
That was cartoonish.
Yeah,
That was
early
cartoonish.
on when they're all looking at her suspiciously, and now suddenly he has a trench coat with a kid under it, and nobody pays attention. Like
nobody bats an eye.
I mean,
like, come on, man.
I mean, that scene could have been done better if
stupid.
maybe 1 or 2 stormtroopers were like staring at them, and all the other stormtroopers are still like wandering around.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? And they just ignore it.
It was so
Here's
like,
my
because-
question, and let me know if I've got this wrong as well. So what is her name? The Talia.
Visitor?
That's her name, Talia.
Oh yeah.
No, in Dira Varma's character.
Yeah.
So she shows up. She's in a Empire uniform. Obviously, she's undercover, right?
Mhm.
Right.
She saves Obi-Wan, right? Just
Yes.
shoots a couple of her stormtrooper guys there.
Mhm.
And then she disappears for a while and then comes back and no one's even noticed that she had been gone. Like, you'd be I wasn't in the military, but you'd be AWOL if you left for a couple of days, right?
Yes.
Oh my God.
If you had a post,
Yes.
and
Correct.
everyone on your post died and you were nowhere to be found,
Yes.
and then you just showed up like a day later or 2 days later,
Yeah.
there'd be some serious crap, right?
Unless you were some kind of liaison, or it was part of your actual duties. I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
But still,
but
yeah, you're
even
right.
if even if bodies are like found or not, you still be questioned.
Right. Yeah,
What I'm saying is, are they not? Is their system just like not built for keeping track of somebody because she still had clearance?
I think, it's what frustrates me with a lot of more modern shows. It's like when you go back, and I'll use the original Star Trek as an example. I mean, they worked very hard to make it seem like a working, functioning military exploration organization. And now and even in Next Generation, they just change things to match their story all the time. And it gets so sloppy so fast. Like, things don't make sense. Like, they lose that sort of structure and logic. And it always frustrates me. I find that kind of writing kind of lazy and haphazard.
Yeah.
It seems like it's getting worse with modern shows like Obi-Wan, where everybody questions her at every fucking step she takes, but then as soon as Obi-Wan's wearing a trench coat, by the way, nobody was ever wearing a trench coat in the Empire in any fucking movie until that moment, and nobody questions him.
Trench coats were in Rogue One.
Oh, were they?
Rogue One is when trench coats were introduced in the movie.
It's not even that. It's just that
Fair
it looks
enough,
so stupid. Like,
Yeah,
you
and
could tell he was sneaking someone out in a very busy hallway.
Yeah.
It's little things, but like those little things, like you just kind of take you out of it sometimes,
Oh yeah.
It's like that episode of The Mandalorian. Do you remember where he took off his helmet?
Oh man.
To get face scanned, to get info out of a computer, and like this episode was pretty good up until whatever this was.
That
like
stupid moment. Yeah.
That made no sense.
Yeah, it was building up to something like, okay, so is there a reason why he has to show his face or no? Like,
Nope.
no, like it's because of his religion. I'm like, I thought he had his face in in a database somewhere, and they would like compromise themselves, but nope, it's like, no, I can't. It's part of my Mandalorian religion. I'm like, really?
That was so stupid. It would have made sense if he just sat down and the higher ranking officer said, Take off your helmet and relax, man. What are you doing? And you're kind of under peer pressure at that point because if you don't take it off, you look a little effing suspicious.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, that
So
was.
you want to know how the last
and not to
episode
mention,
ends? Oh,
not to mention the computer just sort of opened up for his face. Like,
Right.
how does it know who he is? What is even the
Right.
point of facial scan if anyone can
Exactly.
get into the computer?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
They're just like, who is this person? But
so last parts of the final episode. Wanna get
Tony,
over
yeah,
that?
I was gonna say, Tony, what is the wrap up? I mean, you watched the
So,
last couple episodes. I
okay.
gave up. I mean, was there an emotional payoff? How do you feel about the
So-
last couple episodes?
Okay, so I already briefly went over this. Vader's back in Mustafar, sitting in his throne. He's like, "No, I have no emotional connection to Obi-Wan anymore. Screw off, Palpatine." And the Darth Vader theme song plays.
I don't love
And
it.
then
You
by the-
love it.
And by the way, the soundtrack for the show is okay at best. It's nothing like the soundtrack for Mandalorian and even Book of Boba Fett. It reminds me of the Spider-Man PS4 theme more than actual Star Wars. That's yeah.
Huh.
But so yeah, Obi-Wan goes back to after leaving Alderaan and telling Leia about how much she's like her parents. He goes meets up with Luke, says hello there, gives him his toy of that the toy that Luke was playing with in New Hope.
Oh yeah, the TA. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like Obi-Wan says, yeah, he should at least grow up as a kid and be a boy when while he still can.
Right.
And I shouldn't do the same thing that I did with Anakin with him. I'm like, okay, that's reasonable. He's like, Obi-Wan is riding a alien camel in the distance in the sunset. He sees the Force Ghost of Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you just have to be a certain tier of being connected with the Force in order to see Force ghosts. I see how it is. Even though I thought Obi-Wan was like already high enough to see Force ghosts, but whatever. Okay, he sees Liam Neeson. Okay.
Liam Neeson's is in it?
Yes, Qui-Gon. He's like,
Well,
okay,
wow.
and
His-
Obi-Wan's
his
like, okay, I'll
image,
ride
I'm
along.
sure.
Right along. And
Obi-Wan.
he's like, yeah. He's like, I'll just ride along and talk with Qui-Gon, and yeah, the end. That's how it ends.
Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever.
Okay.
I mean, I like the last episode. My biggest problem with the show is like how dragged it is. Okay, here's the thing. This doesn't feel like a show. It feels like a dragged out movie that's cut apart into 6 episodes. Like if you cut up a lot of the fat in it, it could honestly be a decent Star Wars movie or like a decent prequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just cut out the laser fence completely.
I mean,
I don't know. I
and the
put myself
trench
into
coat scene.
watching a guy fall through the laser fence. That was pretty funny.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, that was great. Just the whole thing with him turning off the laser fence for no effing reason.
If you want to talk about stuff for no effing reason, can we talk about Hayden Christensen being in this?
Hey.
Oh, well, here's the thing. Hayden Christensen
He's getting some
is
love.
Hold on.
I'm glad he's getting some love and some money.
Hold on.
Disney money.
Hold on. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. The guy's not a bad actor. The guy needs work.
Yes, he was
that.
in Jumper. I love that movie.
I love that movie too. Yeah, I love that movie.
I loved him in Shattered Glass. I thought he was great in that. But like, and please tell me if I'm wrong, because it just seems weird to have him there, not have him like show his face. Like he's not even in like scenes that they made up or something like that. It was just weird not seeing his
You're
face.
gonna have
but
to watch the
see it
last
later.
2
Yeah,
episodes.
you missed out on the training montage that took place before episode 2 of
Right.
him and Obi-Wan training, and basically it's the idea of protecting versus being on the offensive, and it's basically that idea. And Obi-Wan is defensive, Anakin is offensive. Yeah, and they kind of de-age him. It looks okay. It's better than what Mark Hamill looked like in Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian. And in the final fight between him and Vader, when Obi-Wan damages Vader's mask and somehow that affects his respirator, you can see a chunk of his face.
Chunk of his face, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's
so
having
you do
you get to
eventually
see him.
Like
Yeah.
you do genuinely see him. Okay.
Yes, and his voice switches from James Earl Jones to Hayden Christensen's voice. Yeah.
Oh.
And he's
If I
like,
could listen, if I could wear a helmet that made me sound like James Earl Jones, I probably would.
Yeah, no.
yes,
kidding.
I would too.
All right, guys. Any last thoughts before we get out of here on this?
Obi-Wan, I give it a 5.8 out of 10. What is that in our score? We
stars.
do it by fours, right?
4 stars.
Yeah.
So,
So I
you
give
would
it a-
give it a 2? 2.5 maybe.
2.5. Yeah.
2.5 stars, yeah, basically. I mean, there's like, yeah, you just skip out on a couple episodes and you'll enjoy it.
Okay, well,
I think there's some things I like about it. I think the primary reason why a lot of the writing isn't as polished is because I think they're focusing on this being more of like a swashbuckling adventure, right? Like when we
Yeah.
were expecting an Obi-Wan Kenobi series, we were expecting it to be like an adventure show, of him running around doing Jedi things
maybe,
for a little
yeah.
bit, right?
Yep.
We
and
kind of got that. So
Mhm.
I mean, that's not a bad thing,
it
but
shouldn't have happened until like the last episode, but yeah.
yeah. But I had a couple of issues with a lot of stuff, like the scene where they're hiding and Vader first shows up. He's just like killing people left and right, like just walking down the street. If you were just in front of him, you were dead, right?
I mean,
Like
if I was Vader, I'd do that.
it should not have gotten that far.
I mean,
Given what your training is as a Jedi Master, if you were going to go out there to distract him anyway, wouldn't you have done it to save more lives?
Not to mention,
oh wait,
if you were
Obi-Wan?
within
Yeah.
Imperial space, I don't think he would have been allowed to by the Emperor to just go off like that. On Tatooine, sure, but if you're
Yeah.
in Imperial space, you got to remember that was very much a 20-year process of Palpatine becoming, or at least the Empire becoming what it became in New Hope. And that, again, goes back to the whole Leia being tortured thing. It's like they weren't there yet. He still needed the support of the Senate. And when you have your right-hand man running around just shredding Imperial citizens, you're not going to have the friggin' support of the Senate. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, of course, right.
Yeah.
So like it just feels, but also there's that whole thing of like, the Jedi are supposed to be like the good and the order of the galaxy, right? And when there's wrong, they need to right it.
Right.
There's too many people died for me to enjoy that scene. If one person died, okay, that's inevitable, sure. But he's just watching this guy just off people on his stroll down the street.
Right.
And he doesn't even try to stop it. Like he could distract him there and
Yeah,
then
that's
lead him
true.
to the mountains or something. Like he was just like, no, I'll just go that way.
Right.
Oh,
Just let him kill more people as he walks through town.
So what are you going to rate it there, Luis?
yeah.
I think I'm gonna rate it 1.5. I think 1.5. Honestly, there are bits of it that I like. I do like that they're focusing on the more high adventure, swashbuckling kind of aspect of Obi-Wan being old Obi-Wan Kenobi, or growing into that old Obi-Wan Kenobi character that we know and love. But also, actually, what I really liked was the lightsaber fighting kind of went back to normal.
Yeah.
It's
they
no
depowered
longer-
it. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you remember the prequels, they were like
I'm disappointed by that.
It was a
sword
little
fighting?
too crazy. Yeah, it was a little too crazy.
I
Yeah, and
prefer
they
the
kinda
crazy fights.
Well, I know
They
because you were a kid, but
Yeah, as someone who grew up with the prequels, I
Yeah.
prefer the insane woo, 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 the flashing lights in your face fights. But yeah,
the epileptic
I don't know. I
danger
just sort of,
trigger fights.
yeah. I just appreciate that they kind of went back to like the regular sort of sword fighting as opposed to like that
Right.
very stylized kung fu
Right.
sword fighting that they had in the
Yeah.
prequels.
I think the
Um,
part about the show that makes me the most sad is that I do see potential in a show that has a character that was basically traumatized by Order 66 as a child, and you get to see what direction that person took it. But I don't think that show did it well.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I was going to say. If you wanted to do that story, they should have done that story. Instead, it was all watered down by the fan rabidity, I don't even know if that's a word, of trying to get Obi-Wan and Darth Vader together on screen again,
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
you know. And because of that, Reva turned out to be kind of, until the very last episode, turned out to be pretty one-dimensional until you found out more. And it was just, it was backwards. Like, it was backwards. If we would have known, or at least when were hinted with her motivations earlier on, it would have been more interesting. Instead, she was just very flat until the very end.
Yeah.
As
yeah,
far as
I honestly don't get all the hate towards her. Like that's not her fault. Again, this is just
I
another
love that
result
actress.
of.
I love the
I
actress.
don't
Like,
think her
she-
performance was like peak by the last episode where
Yeah.
she realized she's becoming no better than Vader. Like that scene, I liked a lot.
I think she's
Right.
great. Honestly, I do. I think she's got, like I said, I think she's got great charisma, great on-screen presence. I just thought for most of that show, her character was so poorly written.
And this was reminded of this was reminded me of all of this was like that first beginning montage that was all of the prequels, right? That's telling the story up until that point. Do you remember at the beginning of the first episode?
The recap.
Yeah, and it just reminded me how the writing really ruined a lot of the performances. Like you got Natalie Portman's. We're talking about Natalie Portman, right?
She looked
Grade
pretty
A
bad.
actress,
Some
and it
scenes.
was, and then she was so bad in this.
You gotta consider that Star Wars is a different world from ours, and their accents and the way they communicate to each other might be completely different to how we do.
No, that's BS. That's BS. That's fan BS.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but I think she suffered from the same thing. I think that's what reminded me of this. And then we see her again, and it seems like
it's almost
she's suffering from like the writing and not the performance aspect of it.
It's almost like they're trying to emulate Lucas's bad character writing.
Oh man.
Yeah. Or bad. I should say bad. Oh Jesus. Bad. I can't even
Character
speak
development.
No. Dialogue. Bad dialogue. His bad dialogue writing. Yeah. Anyway, we're running really long. Let me give my review. My biggest problem with Star Wars, or Disney Star Wars, after Lucas sold it off, my biggest problem with it is that everything feels like it's trying to imitate Star Wars. It doesn't feel like Star Wars. The only thing I can think of that I watched that felt like Star Wars for about 80% of the way through it was Rogue One, and then the last act they totally fumbled the ball on that.
They really bungled that.
And that's it. I because of that, I give this 1 star. It just feels too much like an imitation. You got Ewan McGregor. I love the guy. You know, some great actors. It's great to see Hayden Christensen get some Disney money.
Yeah, and the guy played Organa. He's back in this, and he does a good job playing a ward father.
Yeah, it's just I love Jimmy Smits.
And hey, even Kid Leia's good.
But again, it just feels like an imitation.
Yeah,
I love that. That's probably puts into words how I felt about Star Wars for like the last 10 years, 15 years. It's like, this isn't Star Wars. This is Star Wars light, or this is like an off-brand Star Wars, kind of like Kool-Aid and like Fun Aid. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It's like Powerade when you want Gatorade.
Exactly.
I like Powerade.
Dr. Pibb when you, or Mr. Pibb when you want a Dr. Pepper.
When you want a Dr. Pepper,
It's
not the same. All right, we need to get out of here. We're running super long.
All right.
But before we go, does anybody have anything that they want to plug or anything?
DaiKaiju Tony at YouTube. It's DaiKaiju Tony, not DaiKaiju Space Tony. Link will be in the description. I make videos and plan to make a vlog for G-Fest this year.
Ooh, yep. That might be fun. There's a lot of fun videos on those guys. Definitely check it out.
Yep.
And then the shirts.
TeePublic/GoFrienders. TeePublic.com/GoFrienders. Cool t-shirts. And as far as the show or this channel, as you can see, we've had to, because of circumstances beyond our control, we've had to shift about how we do things. But hopefully we're going to get more back on track, if that makes sense, soon.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's it. That's all I got.
I kind of like this aspect. It keeps me at home the whole time.
I was going to say I do like not having to drive all the way across town.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, guys, let us know what you thought about Obi-Wan. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let us know why. Hopefully you guys will be here next week for whatever we talk about, and we'll see you then.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Good night.
DaiKaiju Tony, signing out.